Jack Garratt. Great, I just have a nice conversation. I was working on my accent, you see.
There's chairs and stuff.
Yeah, pretty good, doing legit. So, Jack, again, thank you so much for coming. It means so much to us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and now, your debut album, Face, you just released it about a month ago. The reactions have been phenomenal.
Yes,
If you guys haven't listened to the whole album through yet, you absolutely have to, because it's unreal. But this wasn't your first music making foray. You've been making music for a very long time, right? I was even, I watched some old videos on YouTube of you playing songs off nickel and dime. Acoustic guitar. Can you tell us how Jack Garratt in this form came to be, and how long it's been around for?
Essentially, about 4 or 5 years ago, I woke up and realized I wasn't happy with anything about myself. It was a great moment. In the same way that, like, there's a certain, I feel like there's a kind of decade in which you have that opportunity to have that realization. It's from like the age of 18 to like 28. And it's in that time, at some point, you have to realize that you suck. and then it's coming through, sorry. And then the day after that, you can go, okay, cool. That's great. I'm now going to be better at stuff. Because you have, a lot of the album has kind of come out of that way of thinking about, you cannot have, sorry, yeah, it's just not working. You cannot have light without darkness. You cannot have something shining in your face because it needs to have darkness to be in the, in the same way you can't have darkness without light, because otherwise neither of those things exist. You cannot know what happiness is unless you've experienced sadness. Those two things are equally as important. That was a realization I made when I was about 19. And I had this album, and I'd recorded an album, and I'd been working really hard on it, and I woke up and I went, I hate all of the songs. I genuinely don't like any of them. And I'm not enjoying the course I'm on at university. I'm not enjoying myself as a person. How can I change that? And 5 years later, I finally feel like I'm ready to go. I'm okay.
Well, I totally understand where you're coming from. It didn't sound right to you. You were making music maybe that other people liked, but it wasn't meeting your standards. Right?
Yeah, that was another big thing as well. Was like the kind of relationships that I had at that time, not just with all kinds of people, like with. Not with my family. My family have always been the most kind of supportive and consistent group of people I've ever had in my life, but like other paternal figures I had in my life, other maternal figures I had in my life, I was surrounding myself with people who were fueling and supplying the demand that their ego was giving them, and using me as a way to do that. I had a guy who would kind of really regularly give me gigs, and I thought it was out of support. Like, he gave me my first ever show when I was about 14, and I thought it was out of support, and then very quickly came to realize that he was just doing it because he saw a potential and saw talent in something very young, and essentially was the first person that invented clickbait. But with people. Like, he would put me on at a show because he knew that it would sell tickets, because people wanted to come and see, and this is not me blowing smoke up my own ass, I promise, but like, they wanted to come and see a 14-year-old kid who played blues guitar and sung those kind of bluesy songs and stuff. It was, I just kind of, for some reason, was very attracted to being used in that way. Which was a weird thing. It was very strange, and again, the realization of that was, pretty great.
And I think that's like the theme I get from your album of this. It's a bit self-deprecating and self-degrading, right?
Yeah.
But to me, my interpretation is there's a lot of things in me I want to work on, but it's not because I think I'm bad. It's because I want to get better for you.
Yeah, you want it for the other person, and a lot of my songs kind of deal with that idea of. I love the feeling you have as a person where you sacrifice so much of yourself for the sake of someone else, but really you're just showing off. Like, really you're just doing it because you want to be able to say, I'm a martyr for you, and that person's going, I don't know who you are. And it's like, that was a really constant kind of battle I had with myself, where I would pretend to be people I wasn't to impress people who didn't really care about me in the first place. A lot of my songs kind of deal with that idea of self-sacrifice for the sake of self-obsession.
Right, and I think that started with the Remnants EP,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. The idea of like, I'll destroy myself trying to get you to notice me, and you might not even know who I am.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. It's the reason why a lot of my songs kind of deal with the idea of death, because you sit there and go, well, I don't want to die. Not because people will miss me, I'll miss myself. Like, it's just, but it's that kind of very immature way of looking at the way that things exist, and the end of things, and the beginning of it, just, you know, the natural, pardon the pun, natural phase, and the natural progression, and the natural journey of things.
Available everywhere now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's kind of, it's something I think about a lot. It's something I, for some reason, really enjoy writing about. The other thing I kind of really like about that way of writing music as well is I write my lyrics, especially. I write them kind of as letters to two people or four people, not necessarily from myself, but just, you know, a letter from one person to another. And the great thing about having the songs and having that kind of discussion be presented in that way is a letter on its own only ever, like, it drops you somewhere in the middle of a conversation. You don't know how many letters have been exchanged back and forth. You're just looking at one, right? That's what my songs are, just one letter out of a conversation. So it drops you in the middle of a conversation you know nothing about, and then puts you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into that conversation, and then never resolves it, because you never get an answer back from the other person. You know, so my songs are kind of just like, hey, here's an emotion, here's me exploring that emotion, and now you're in a hole. and I'm sorry, I've run out of ladders. Right. Kind of thing. I don't know why I have a lot of fun writing about that kind of really uplifting stuff.
We have a lot of fun listening. You know, is there a song off this album that you'd say is your proudest work?
I would say there's a song that's my proudest work, but there's lots of songs that I admire for lots of different reasons. It's good to admire your own work. It's good to enjoy the thing that you do. It's the same with anything, especially creative, and especially creative in business. If you don't enjoy the thing that you're creating, then there's kind of the substance, the purpose of it kind of disappears. So I make sure that everything I release, everything that is listened to by other people, is something that I would want to listen to as a fan of music. And for that reason, I like the music I make. So, like, for that reason, I enjoy a lot of the songs on this record for different reasons. Kind of in the conversation that we've just been having, track 3, I think it is, Far Cry, is, I think, the deepest I go on it in terms of what we were just talking about. But there's other songs on it that I like for different reasons. Like The Love You're Given is one of the first songs I really properly produced and sat down. It's a couple of years old, that song. One of the first times I really sat down and produced and mixed it and did it myself, and then kind of sent it off.
That was kind of the first song of this new saga, right? Where you were doing the electronic and doing the songwriting and the producing at the same time.
Well, yeah, because the first EP, Remnants, was a lot more songwriter based, and then the second EP was me kind of trying to get a hold of my production and kind of figure out what it meant to be a producer. Like, I've never gone to school to study music. I've never had someone tell me what, like, compression is. I remember doing music technology at school, because I was like, hey, computer games, that would be fun for 2 years. And as a joke, and then that's essentially what it ended up being. The teacher kind of didn't really know. And this is not just, I had a really, really good education. I had a really good relationship with my teachers. Because I wanted them, you know, you want to admire your peers, and you want them to admire you, and you need that kind of basic level of mutual respect to be able to learn from each other. But unfortunately, the subject wasn't well funded, and we didn't have a lot of stuff to work with. So I went and did, this was like when I was 17, so doing my A-levels, so not like college or university. But I went, and I remember, like, a week before we were supposed to go in and do our final exam, I came in because I'd had a conversation with another friend of mine who was studying music tech at another school, and he told me about this magical thing called compression. And I'm sitting there going, no, musicians in the room may kind of understand how important it is to have that in recorded music. None of us knew. We'd been studying it for about a year and a half, and it was our final exam coming up, and I suddenly come into the room and go, what's compression? And everyone goes, duh. Our teacher comes back with a 2-page Wikipedia printed out description of what compression is and goes, there.
And would the right way to describe that to people in the room who don't know what it is, making the loudest parts and the softest parts kind of come closer together?
Yeah, it's so you don't have, it just cleans up, you know, if you have to kind of put it on a lot of the individual tracks, you know, vocals and drums, bass and everything, it all needs to be compressed to a point so that they can sit against each other and it all makes a nice sound. It's not like an obvious effect that you hear, it's just something that's there to clean everything up. It's really necessary.
Or about 100 you need to have in your wheelhouse to be self-producing albums like you are.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I started producing my own music after I left school and after I tried to go to university, I started to like teach myself those things because I realized I didn't have the teaching anywhere else. But it's the same with instruments and everything. I've always found that I teach myself in a way that I can kind of respond to better than if someone else teaches me. But if someone else teaches me and gets me excited about it, I sponge and I just collect all the information and it just soaks in me.
And so you're a self-taught musician putting out the album like completely by yourself. And so I've seen an interview where you described yourself as a perfectionist who doesn't believe in perfection.
Yes.
And I saw an interview from last week where you said the songs come from the head and the heart, but they need to be played with the hands.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do your songs accurately represent the way you hear them in your head now? Are you able to present them in a way where it actually sounds like you want it to these days?
Well, yeah, because I kind of know exactly what sounds I'm going to make, and I also have no idea what sounds I'm going to make. It's a weird balance of those two exact things. You know exactly where you want to go, but you don't know what it is. Like I don't quite know how to explain it, but there's never, in the same way I said before, I've never produced a song that I sat there and listened at the end of it and gone, I'm just not sure about that one bit. Never, that's never happened, because if I'm not sure about it, I've said to everyone, I'm sorry, I know the deadline is in 5 minutes, but you're going to have to wait another couple of hours because I've got something to fix. Yeah. It's the most important thing is making sure that what I'm outputting is the best that I can be in that moment. Not the best that I can be in comparison to anyone else. I don't try and compete in music, because music isn't elitist, it's not a competition, it's an art form. I just try and better myself and be the best that I can be in that moment. So that kind of means that I always know what I'm going to hit. I just have no idea what it is yet.
Right. Yeah. Good. I'd like to open it up to the audience with a few minutes left.
First, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
No, thank you.
Just wanted to kind of dig into the writing style as it pertains to like how you do a live set. So do you kind of write it like as you're going with the idea of the live set in mind, or do you deconstruct a finished product?
A little of column A, a little of column B. I started off just kind of writing songs, and then because I'd written all these songs acoustically, and I kind of taught myself to write music by playing acoustic guitar, and then I kind of realized that I was having more fun producing those songs, and that was kind of the first thing, was deconstructing the music I'd written acoustically, and then putting my producer's hat on and sitting in front of my computer and having all my other things around me, and then like producing it into an electronic piece of music, or whatever genre was taking me at that moment. The next step was then trying to find a way to play it live. So when I did the first run of shows a couple of years ago, it was a case of, I've got all these songs and I need to find a way to play them live, and I'm poor and I don't have a band and I don't have the time to have a band, but I have like loads of shows coming up. And I knew that I'd be able to do something like this because ever since I was little I've been able to do lots of different things when it comes to music. So that was a case of going, okay, I've got to be strict on myself and I've got to find a way to deconstruct the music and represent it in the best way possible in a live situation. When the record came about, I'd already been gigging like this for a couple of times, so I did start thinking, oh my god, how am I going to play this live? But if I was asking myself that question, I knew I was on the right path for the song. I was sitting there going like, this is crazy, I have no idea how I'm going to be able to do all of this. And then I sat there and went, well, don't worry about it yet. You're on the right line. If you're questioning yourself about that right now, then surely that's a good thing. It's like, I don't have 7 arms. Okay, let's see if we can get 7 arms. I guess that kind of, yeah. No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Which tools are you using to write and record? And when you're on the road, do you also write music, record music, and what are you using?
Yeah, I actually still use Logic 9, which it's a couple of generations old, because I don't like change. And I'm terrified of, I've just heard nightmares about the relationships between those programs and the laptop I'm using and the software updates and everything. So I'm running on on an older version of everything. And that's kind of what I use for all of my recording stuff. I did most of the record in the box. I did most of it on my laptop, on the road, kind of in the back of vans, in the back of cars, on buses and stuff like that, because I was touring and trying to finish an album. And then I had like a 2-week period where me and a really good friend of mine, the engineer actually, who worked on the entire record and kind of co-produced a lot of it and finessed a lot of it with me, a guy called Garratt. We spent 2 weeks in a small studio in London doing all of the extra bits. Like, I kind of would demo these ideas in my laptop and then get them to a point where I'm happy with them, and then he'd come in and go, cool, that's a good idea, here's a way that you can do it so it'll have more impact, and it's live, it's real, it's like it's existing. And so we kind of had a lot of fun playing around with that in those couple of weeks. Yeah, but I've got like in the back of the bus that I'm traveling around with on this tour, I've got like only room for like one speaker, so I'm doing everything in mono at the moment, which is so confusing. And then yeah, my laptop and the keyboard, and it's just everywhere I go, I have it there just in case something happens. And I've got my phone on me at all times as well, so if an idea hits me, just straight in onto recording ideas down. It's so important if you have an idea, if it comes to you like that, it's come to you for a reason, kind of thing. A lot of artists talk about the idea of what genius is and what it means, and I think Tom Waits and Bob Dylan have spoken about the fact that kind of in the way that ancient Greek philosophers would think about genius, it's not something that you own or have, it's something that visits you, it's something that comes to you. That's why you can have those eureka moments. And it's important hearing those people talk about it, because Tom Waits says, you know, if an idea comes to me and I'm not ready for it yet, I'll just say, go somewhere else, you know, Bob Dylan is around the corner, he'll take it. But it's important that if it comes to you, it's come to you for a reason, because you're willing for it to come to you, and also it's respecting you enough to kind of visit you in that sense. That's kind of how I try and think about the writing. So I always have my phone on me in case it happens. Yeah. No worries, thank you.
So it talks to Google. Everything is assumed to be confidential. I was wondering what's on the docket for you this summer. Any festivals you can let us know about?
I'm just staring at my manager. No, there's a couple of things that are going on. If I'm honest, don't know a lot of it. I try and know everything I can. It's important, I think, to know everything I'm up to and that I'm doing and stuff. But in terms of scheduling and calendars, I get kept out of the loop because it will just destroy me. But yeah, I know I'm doing a lot. I know I'm coming back out to the States. Is there any? I'm trying to think of festivals that.
We're doing Firefly in June. You've got a couple of shows in June, and then Firefly as well, but they're East Coast.
They're East, yeah. Yeah, so that's about it for now. Will we put more in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yes, but I don't know. Thanks.
And I'd say, along with that question, one I'd like to end on is, what are you most excited about coming up, going forward, whether it's an idea you have or an event you're playing at?
I'm actually working on a lot of different ideas at the moment. I've kind of got a bit of a passion project brewing, which I'm keeping my voice off of. Don't know what it's going to be yet, don't know how it's going to manifest, but I'm creating a lot at the moment. I'm not a very prolific writer. It takes me a long time to write songs. Like, there are songs on the record that I'm trying to think, like, there are songs on the record that have taken up to 2 years, maybe 3 years to write, to kind of finish. And at the moment, for some reason, I'm outputting a lot. So I'm kind of encouraged. The same I was saying earlier, like, that's the reason why I have a small studio with me everywhere, because it seems to be happening at the moment. So yeah, so I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not like anything I've done before. But then again, nothing I've ever done is like anything I've done before. I think, I don't know.
Well, we look forward to seeing it, whatever it is.
Thanks, Dave.
Guys, let's hear it one more time for Jack.